President Trump emphasized that he'll have the final say on trade negotiations and all of this. Watch.
I don't want to tell you what the understanding is, because what we understood yesterday or 2 days ago or even today is not going to be necessarily what it's going to be in 2 days. I mean, we're going to have a great talk. I have a lot of respect for President Xi. I like him a lot. He likes me a lot, I believe, and respects me, and I think he respects our country a lot. And we're going to have, I think we're going to have a successful transaction for both countries.
One quick one. Just, you said yesterday that you might invite China to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
When would that be?
Well, sometime after. I'm going to go, or we pretty much agreed that I'll be going to China.
When is that?
In the earlier part of the year.
Okay.
And President Xi will be coming into maybe Washington or Palm Beach or someplace sometime after that.
The president also talked about the potential for an upcoming deal over TikTok.
Are you planning to sign a final deal on TikTok on Thursday when you meet with...
We might. That'll be one of the things we're discussing. Somebody reported it's been approved recently. I mean, we got an original approval from President Xi. I expect we'll have an approval, but I'd rather wait till a couple of days to let you know.
Joining me now to talk all about that is Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. What is your assessment of what you're hearing here, that Scott Bessent is saying that they have a preliminary agreement going into this meeting on Thursday?
I'm very concerned, Maria, because we're giving the Chinese a concrete benefit, which is not imposing the 100% additional tariff for promises from China. Promises on rare earth, promises on soybean, promises on fentanyl. You know, we've done that so many times in the past for decades, and the Chinese do not comply with their agreements, but we comply with ours. So, you know, President Trump should remember that he already had a trade deal with China, the January 2020 Phase 1 trade pact, which China immediately and openly violated. So I'm very concerned that the Chinese are going to do this again, especially because Xi Jinping does not respect the United States, and he respects us even less than he did at the beginning of this decade.
So what is the president supposed to do at this point? I mean, look, they are threatening export controls on rare earth minerals, and it sounds like what Bessent said, that that's off the table for now. He suggested that they would look at it over the year, but for a year it would be off the table. Is that enough time? President Trump is walking this balance of pushing Beijing to do what he wants, but at the same time trying to bone up America to have the supply chains here so that we're not reliant on communist China.
Yes, President Trump is trying to buy time, and I can understand that. But to answer your question, what should we do? We should keep the 100% tariff and put that in place until the Chinese actually start sending rare earths to the United States. So I'd like to see them comply before we comply. Let's reverse this dynamic, because the dynamic that we have now, you know, that we just sort of accept their promises, it just has not worked. And it's not just in this decade, it's for decades preceding that. So let's do something different.
Well, it's a great point that you make, certainly. Look, the president is trying to gather allies all around him ahead of this meeting. He kicked off his 5-day tour of Asia with historic trade deals and peace agreements. This morning, the president greeting Japan's emperor in Tokyo ahead of his bilateral meeting with Japan's first female prime minister, Sanae Takaishi. The pair will talk trade and security later today. We will wait for that. And then in Malaysia on Sunday, the president was dancing alongside the prime minister with a warm and festive welcome on the tarmac there. He struck trade deals and mineral deals with Cambodia and Malaysia and secured framework trade deals with Thailand and Vietnam. The president, also overseeing a peace deal between Thailand and Cambodia, says he's open to meeting with North Korea's Kim Jong-un while in South Korea, Gordon. What are your thoughts there? And don't forget, he also did a big deal with Australia, which included space and AI agreement partnerships, submarine partnerships, defense pacts, back on track there. So he has gathered lots of allies going into this important meeting on Thursday. He's even talking about Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we'd never see Xi Jinping dance. So, you know, we've got a great president there. Really does play to the crowd. Yesterday was a great day for the United States and for trade. And as you point out, you know, we've got these arrangements and frameworks with Cambodia, with Thailand, with Malaysia. And what President Trump is doing is he's isolating the Chinese. And that's really, really important. We've got to build our friendships. We've got to build those partnerships. The one thing that wasn't terrific was that additional 10% tariff on Canada. Yes, we've got a lot of trade problems and disagreements with Canada, bigger than most Americans realize. But on the other hand, we need to secure that northern border before we go out and confront the Chinese. And on Kim Jong-un, that's a waste of time, in my view, because we should be working very closely with our partners in the region, because Kim has made it very clear that he's on board with China and Russia. And Kim is a major supporter of Russia's war effort in Ukraine. We're not going to talk Kim Jong-un out of this now until the United States looks dominant. And President Trump's got a lot of work to do because the Chinese don't respect us.
No, you're right. And we see that on screen every day. And based on their bad behavior on the global stage, what do you make of the president saying that he'd like to see Xi Jinping help him end the war on Ukraine? Would Xi Jinping even consider making a suggestion to Vladimir Putin?
You know, the Chinese are all in support for Russia, and Russia wouldn't be fighting today were it not for China's support. And the thing that is important, what we heard from Matt Whitaker just a few moments ago on your show, is, look, the United States is going to impose costs on those countries that are supporting the Russian war effort. Well, we did that with India with the additional 25% tariff, but we haven't done it with China. And that's one of the reasons why China doesn't think very much of us, because they know that we will hit India, but we won't hit China. And this is going to sink the trade deal if we actually go forward and put those additional tariffs on China for buying Russian oil, because they're buying a lot of Russian oil.
Well, you would think that China was a little less tough, appearing to be tough, given the state of its economy. But the Chinese Communist Party has unveiled a new economic blueprint, they're calling it, to boost technology. The Wall Street Journal is writing that China gears up for more tech confrontation with the U.S. The Communist Party's new 5-year plan emphasizes self-sufficiency and advanced manufacturing as the rivalry with America looms large. Gordon, your reaction?
Yeah, well, the most important thing is what both China and the United States do in the year going forward while this truce is supposedly in effect. What China is doing is doubling down on a failed economic policy. Yes, they're doing great on manufacturing. They're doing great on exports, but they're building too many factories. And we see this from the price data from September and prior months. China is in a deep deflationary spiral. And what the Communist Party did at the fourth plenum is to endorse policies that are going to deepen that spiral downwards. They've got too many apartment buildings, too many high-speed rail lines, and they're going to have too many factories. So this is not good for China in the long run. Yes, they will steal a march on the first couple of years, but beyond that, they are in really deep trouble.
All good points. Gordon, great to see you. Thank you.